Yo. Yo, what up, everybody? How are you? How are you doing? How are you doing? I'm looking all over the place. Look, I'm over here. I'm looking here. I'm looking here. I'm looking here. I got so many screens going on. It's so funny doing these live things because I'm using a program called Ecamm Live to be able to stream, right? So I've got the computer, and then I've got the camera, and I've got the lens on the camera over here, or not the lens. Lens is here. That's you. And then I've got my screen over, my flip out screen over here. So I'm checking my picture here. I'm checking here. And now I'm even looking on my phone to make sure that it looks good over here, which it does. So just making sure that that's straight. How's everybody doing today? Thank you so much for joining me. And let me make sure this is good. Yeah, sounds great. All right, so I'm coming to you live from Joshua Tree today. And today we're going to be talking about, are you willing? This is the question that I have for you. Are you willing? And what does that mean? If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that right now. You can click the link or the subscribe button below, and make sure you turn on the bell notification and hit always when you click on that so you get notified every single time I go live, every single time I upload a video, all that great stuff. You'll get notified. That's the best way to find out like when I'm actually here on YouTube and when I'm uploading videos. So make sure you subscribe, all right? The Unbreakable Academy is all about motivation, inspiration, healthy living. It's about productivity. It's about being happy. It's about just living your awesome life, right? Like being unbreakable always. Being unbreakable. So that's what it is about. So you want to get down with this, become part of the Unbreakable Nation. Join and subscribe right now. All right? So are you willing? What does that mean? Like, are you willing? You know, before I kind of went through my physical transformation in life, which was about 6 years ago, I wasn't willing to do much. I, was very set in my ways as far as what I thought life should be. And this was approaching my 40s when all this stuff kind of went down. And I wasn't, I was kind of set in my ways, and I thought that I knew everything. I thought that I kind of had everything under control. And like most of us in life, even though we feel we may have things in control, there's a lot of chaos that happens in our lives. And we still think we have things under control, even when that's happening, because we never really want to admit that we don't have things under control. And that's where a lot of issues will come up. That's where a lot of brokenness will happen. We will get broken down constantly from the chaos that is happening in our lives. And we have to be willing to look at that. We have to be willing, number one, to look at that, right? We need to be, it's called self-awareness. We have to be willing to know if we're living in a true state of happiness, or what I like to call middle happy. And middle happy is when you meet somebody and, they seem happy. They appear happy. They even say that they're happy. But truth be told, they're not happy. Like, they're middle happy. They're basically, they're getting glimpses of happiness throughout life. But if you really sit down and talk with them, they're mostly complaining. They're mostly talking about stuff that's negative. Those are the two biggest things. Talking about stuff that's negative and complaining. And you'll notice that, they'll smile. They'll be like, yeah, everything's cool and everything's kosher. But in reality, it's not. They're kind of living in that middle happy zone. But for us to be truly happy, to get to 100% happy, we have to be willing to look at that situation, at the current situation that we're in, and be like, am I truly, truly happy? Are my days filled with happiness? Do I wake up happy? Do I do things that are positive? Do I talk in a positive way? Do I support other people? Do I support myself? Do I give myself what I need? So the first kind of thing about being willing is being willing to look at your current situation and at yourself. It's called self-awareness, self-assessment, and that's kind of the first thing that you need to do. And I did that. I had to do that because when it came down to it, when I had my health scare, and excuse me, I'm just gonna grab my water. When I had my health scare, and it was time to figure out how to get healthy, I really had to do some self-awareness check, and I had to realize, man, I have not been as happy as I can be because I had been up to that point, like really denying my disability, thinking differently, thinking that my disability was not part of me, that it was just kind of in the background, that it wasn't really who I am and all that stuff. But in reality, I was suffering all of the consequences that came with the disability. It was all part of it. That was one aspect of it. Also, just living an unhealthy lifestyle, eating what I want, not exercising, not being positive, all those things led to my unhealthy lifestyle also. But there was a lot of it that had to do with my disability. So I had to do self-assessment around that. I had to do some, questioning and wondering, like, what is it that I think about this? What is my perspective on these things? And I had to be willing to look at that stuff. So I was willing to look at it. Then, I looked at it and I said, you know what? I really want to change. I want to change. I want to do something. But wanting something is not the same as willing to do something. Like, you can say you want something until you're blue in the face. You can just say it over and over again, but until you're willing to make a change to make it happen, you're not going to get whatever it is you want. Because you need to be able to say, you know what, I'm willing to make a change in who I am, in the things that I do, so that I can achieve the goals that I truly want. So being willing is a tough thing for a lot of people. It brings up questions, it tests your ego, it tests your boundaries of how you perceive yourself, because a lot of us, we have a perception of ourselves, and especially like, depending on where you're at age-wise, it could be years deep of seeing yourself a certain way. Like for me, I was almost 40 years old and I still had in my mind, I have to be careful with my disability because my disability is brittle bones. So I had this thing in my mind, I had a perception of myself all the way up till for 40 years, be careful. And that, I had to be willing to look differently at that and change that. I could not think about being careful anymore. And it sounds crazy because you're like, well, dude, you really should be careful because you don't want to break anything, right? But the truth be told, like, I needed to get rid of that so that I could build something new. So I had to be willing to let go of the old and change and start thinking of something in a new way of how I was perceiving my life. And that's what being willing is all about. Are you willing to make a change? If you truly want to be happy, if you truly want to be productive, if you truly want to have financial freedom and get your money in order, believe me, I'm going to do some videos where I talk about money and how much I've struggled throughout my life until I made changes, until I was willing to see how I was thinking about things, that I, actually was able to make some really positive changes. It goes for everything: career, money, finances, relationships. That's another big one. I had to change the way I thought about relationships before I could find the woman of my dreams and get married. Trust, I didn't get married until I was 29 or 30. So it's like, there's a lot that goes into being willing to change, and just being willing to look at it differently, look at how you are kind of living your life and how you perceive yourself, and taking responsibility for things. So are you willing to change? Are you willing to look at things differently? Are you willing to make some self-assessments? Be self-aware and make some assessments about yourself. This is where it starts. This is where change can begin. So I want you to think about this, all right? I want you to think about where you can have these changes occur for yourself, because, where are you willing to look? Start to think about where you're struggling, maybe, even if you're in middle happy, right? And you think everything's cool. Trust that there's some areas of your life that you still complain about, that you still think about, maybe get angry about, maybe have some negative emotions around, those are the places where you need to look at where you can change and how you can change. Okay? So comment below and let me know. Are there any areas in your life where you're feeling this? You know, there's been a few in mine. Before my physical change, I really had to change the way I thought about my disability. I had to really be willing to change that thought because I wanted to make a change physically. And, you know, until I was willing to say I could do it and not be careful, until I was willing to put up money for a personal trainer, and not a little bit of money, some good amount of money, until I was willing to change my schedule around and go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week, until I was willing to start to eat better and eat vegetables that I hated, right? So I mean, it's a number of things that you have to be willing to do and willing to make those changes in order to start being unbreakable. All right, so I'm going to leave you with that. And like, you know, tomorrow I'm going to be back with more, and I hope that you will join me. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.